from Hollywood, I'm Martin Grove, welcoming you to our Screendollars podcast, Box Office Autopsy. Right now, we'll look at the movie marketplace and analyze how things are going and where they're going, sharing some opinions from my perspective after decades of talking about Hollywood on CNN Entertainment Tonight and as a Hollywood Reporter columnist. It was the weekend exhibitors were waiting for, and it was worth the wait. Disney and Marvel's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness kicked off the Hollywood summer with a sizzling $185 million box office heatwave. We'll focus today on Multiverse and also talk about some summer openings on the horizon. And then we'll put our Oscar Outlook spotlight on the SAG Awards and where that telecast could land after suddenly being dropped by the TNT and TBS cable networks. Meanwhile, Multiverse of Madness was a perfect fit for Mother's Day weekend, if you shorten its title to MOM. Its overperforming opening to $185 million at 4,534 theaters was much better than the 170 to 180 million exhibitors were projecting. Hollywood handicappers thought the multiverse could inflate up to 200 million, a multiplex black hole from which no dollars could ever escape. Some media pundits consider the 185 million a cautious studio estimate and expect Monday's actual number to exceed 185 million, perhaps by 10 million or more. If you're listening any time after late Monday afternoon, you already know if they're right. But let's get in a multiverse mood right now with a look at Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff, a.k.a. Scarlet Witch.
What is grief? If not love, persevering.
Part of the madness of the multiverse is we get to see different realities. And we see different versions primarily of Doctor Strange, but we do see other versions of Wanda Maximoff.
I think WandaVision was this journey of her for the first time taking her own life into her own hands. And it was fun transitioning from her experience to this movie.
You could use an Avenger.
There are other Avengers.
We'll get you back on the lunchbox. What do you know about the multiverse?
We wanted to satisfy the WandaVision fans and take them to the next level with a character they love.
It was fun just looking at it from a different perspective.
The multiverse. He has had his theories. He believed it was dangerous.
We need your help.
It's magical. She owns that character so well. It's a very powerful performance with a very powerful character.
In the multiverse, there are alternate versions of everyone, which gives the characters a unique opportunity to meet themselves, to recognize qualities that they may have been blind to.
The fate of the multiverse depends on us.
The PG-13 sci-fi action-adventure starring Benedict Cumberbatch and directed by Sam Raimi, director of Marvel's original Spider-Man trilogy that starred Tobey Maguire, ushered in what will be Hollywood's best summer season in 2 years. Its $90 million Friday, with $36 million from Thursday previews, is Hollywood's seventh biggest day one gross ever. At $185 million, Multiverse ranks as 2022's biggest opening and as the second largest pandemic-era launch after last December's Spider-Man No Way Home with $260.1 million. This year's number one opening until now was Warner Brothers and DC's The Batman with $134 million. Multiverse, which reportedly cost $200 million to produce, has also done an out-of-this-world $265 million in 49 overseas markets, bringing its global cume to $450 million. It's got great playability with a perfect running time of 126 minutes. So it's not losing a show daily the way films do that run 2.5 to 3 hours, like The Batman at 176 minutes. Although critics are just an okay 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, that won't make much difference. It's the Marvel brand, plus Disney and Marvel's great marketing, plus word of mouth, that will be driving Multiverse. Its 87% audience score on RT says that Marvel fans like it. What they're also liking is that Disney and 20th's trailer for James Cameron's Avatar, The Way of Water, is playing exclusively in theaters showing Multiverse. The long-awaited sequel opens December 16th and should give exhibitors a big end-of-the-year box office boost. It helps that Multiverse isn't streaming day and date, and that it won't face any serious competition in Weekend 2, May 13th, from Universal and Blumhouse's R-rated horror thriller remake Firestarter, or in Weekend 3, May 20th, from Focus Features' PG-period ensemble drama Downton Abbey: A New Era. Neither of those titles is targeted to Marvel's typical audience. Firestarter's based on a Stephen King book and follows the 1984 original from Commando director Mark Lester that starred Drew Barrymore, Heather Locklear, and Martin Sheen. The remake's from the Vigil director Keith Thomas and stars Zac Efron. The buzz is for a $10 to $12 million opening. You can tell from this scene that Firestarter's not going to burn down Multiverse's second weekend.
Do you know what it means to be on the run?
Bad men are after us. Really bad.
I hate living like this!
You're special, Charlie.
I'm not special, I'm a monster! Charlie!
I want to help her.
You want to use her. Charlie? Don't be stupid.
Where's Mommy?
Do you feel that? Let her go or it's gonna get a lot worse.
Where's Mommy? Tell me now!
She's the first of her kind.
Multiverse should also do okay in Weekend 3 with the opening of Downton Abbey: A New Era, directed by Simon Curtis, director of My Week with Marilyn, and featuring the Downton Ensemble. The media's anticipating a $15 to $20 million start, but the tracking isn't pointing to that, at least right now. In this scene, we hear music as a movie crew arrives to film at Downton Abbey, while the Downton staff gawks at the glamorous visitors.
Hello, Mr. Molesley. Why are you here?
You know I love anything to do with films.
Well, I know you enjoy a trip to the pictures.
It's more than that. For me, Hollywood is the ultimate dream factory. And I need dreams as much as the next man.
Going into this weekend, Downton's definite interest scores are low, with older men 12 points under norm and younger men 15 points under norm. Women aren't much interested either, with younger women 17 points under norm and older women 13 points under norm. But those scores can rise as Focus's marketing campaign heats up closer to May 20th. Not surprisingly, Universal and DreamWorks Animation's family hit The Bad Guys placed second in its third weekend, with $9.8 million, down 40%. Bad, which reportedly cost about $70 million to produce, has done $57.6 million in domestic theaters. Powered by Multiverse, the marketplace soared to $219.1 million, up 222%, according to ComScore, from the prior weekend when there were no major studio openings. 2022 is looking healthy as we head into May with $2.19 billion in ticket sales per ComScore. That's up 361% from $476.1 million last year. In this quick film clip, we're traveling with Dr. Strange through the multiverse, perhaps to happier pre-pandemic times.
You okay?
If we did have a multiverse wormhole through which to visit the summer of 2019, we'd find a world with no idea of its tragic future. At the multiplexes, we'd see a sky's the limit box office where records were best written with pencils. Figuring out the summer's top-grossing film would be complicated because that summer didn't begin with the first weekend in May. That's because Disney and Marvel opened Avengers Endgame April 26th, echoing the April 27th, 2018 opening of Avengers Infinity War. Endgame's first weekend generated a staggering $357.1 million, the biggest opening weekend ever, versus Infinity's then phenomenal $257.7 million a year earlier. The problem was that, according to Hollywood's record keepers, summer ran from May 3rd through August 31st, which put Endgame in the spring, which ran from March 1st through May 2nd. So Endgame wound up as spring 2019's top title with $858.4 million domestic, most of which was earned during the summer. The summer of 2019's official top five with their domestic cumes were Disney's The Lion King, $543.6 million. Disney and Pixar's Toy Story 4, $434 million. Sony and Marvel's Spider-Man Far From Home, $390.5 million. Disney's Aladdin, $355.6 million, and Universal's Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, $174 million. Those numbers were mostly to dream about in the pandemic multiverse we've been trapped in these past 2 years. But this summer should be a different story, with tentpoles like Top Gun Maverick, opening May 27th, Jurassic World Dominion, June 10th, Lightyear, June 17th, Minions: The Rise of Gru, July 1st, and Thor: Love and Thunder, July 8th. Time now to plug in our Oscar Outlook Spotlight. The week's big awards front news wasn't good news for one of the top-tier awards telecasts. Actors are used to rejection, but the Screen Actors Guild, SAG, just got a big one with TNT and TBS canceling its awards program. SAG's been a TNT event since 1998 and on TBS since 2007, but its ratings have eroded badly, as they have for all awards shows, especially the Oscars. This year's SAG telecast drew just 1.8 million viewers. Those ratings were ill-timed since the TNT webs are now owned by Warner Brothers Discovery. Its new management has promised shareholders $3 billion in post-merger savings, so scrapping the SAG festivities was a no-brainer. It could, however, turn out to be SAG's lucky day. However good a show SAG produces, it's not going to get 25 million viewers on TNT, but it could on NBC, especially with some Peacock streaming. NBC could grab SAG to replace the tarnished Golden Globes telecast that it put on hiatus this year. Like the Globes, SAG celebrates movies and TV. It's the one awards show that could easily equal or surpass the star wattage of the old Globes party. Everybody in SAG's an actor, so if you want famous faces drinking champagne, SAG's got 'em. It also helps that the SAG-AFTRA Guild's a Hollywood brand name that viewers recognize. Its highly diversified group of about 124,000 members is far more credible than the 90-odd HFPA members who voted for the Globes. Best of all, SAG's not overshadowed by allegations of improprieties as the HFPA was last year. So stay tuned for more SAG telecast details as they develop. That wraps up today's podcast, but please join us next week on Box Office Autopsy, when we'll look at Doctor Strange's second weekend and Firestarter's opening. As always, thanks very much for listening. Time now for our film flashback look at what was happening in Hollywood right around now, way back then. Let's set today's time travel dial for May 8th, 1952. William Fox's name lives on today as a cable news brand, while the movie studio he founded has disappeared into the shadows of Hollywood history. Fox, who died May 8, 1952 at 73, came from Hungary to New York as a child and worked in the garment business before buying into a Brooklyn Nickelodeon in 1904. He soon owned 15 Nickelodeons and began distributing films. The major studios, operating under licenses from movie technology inventor Thomas Edison, formed the Motion Picture Patents Company in 1908 and the General Film Company in 1910 as monopolies to produce and distribute films. Fox refused to sell out to them and sued under the Sherman Antitrust Act, winning a $370,000 settlement and changing how the fledgling movie business developed. He formed Fox Film Corporation February 1st, 1915, moving into production and enjoying great success with his first star, Theda Bara, known as the Vamp for her 1915 drama A Fool There Was. Fox purchased German patents in 1925 and 26 that led to the Fox Movietone sound on film system, first heard on F.W. Murnau's 1927 drama Sunrise. Movietone caught on, replacing Warner Brothers' sound on disc system Vitaphone. An opportunity to dramatically increase Fox's movie holdings presented itself after Marcus Lowe's untimely death at 57 in September 1927. His theater chain, Lowe's Inc., had in 1924 formed MGM, which became Hollywood's top studio. Fox met in 1928 with Lowe's successor, Nicholas Schenck, and proposed buying the Lowe family's large shareholdings so he could merge MGM into Fox. Schenck had already had proposals from Paramount and Warner Brothers, but Fox sweetened his $50 million deal by offering Schenck a $10 million fee. After about 6 months of secret negotiations, Schenck and Fox announced a deal February 24, 1929. This came as a very unpleasant surprise to MGM studio chief Louis B. Mayer, who used his friendship with then-President Herbert Hoover to give Fox antitrust problems. Trying to work things out, Fox was going to play golf with Schenck on Long Island, where they both lived, but fate intervened. Fox's chauffeur got lost and was killed after he hit another car. Fox was seriously hurt and out of action for 3 months, during which the stock market crashed, wiping him out. He lost control of his company, which was taken over in May 1935 by the hot 2-year-old studio 20th Century Pictures, creating 20th Century Fox. In 2019, as part of a $71 billion deal with Rupert Murdoch, Disney acquired 20th Century Fox, turning it into a production label called 20th Century Studios. And that's it for today's podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll be back with another box office autopsy next week. In Hollywood for Screendollars, I'm Martin Grove.